Boys, it's chinned. We have a banger card coming up, at least for Apex standards. Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Oliveira is taking place this weekend in the UFC Apex. Sorry, the fucking meta Apex. It's the fucking meta Apex now. Forgot about that. It's fucking stupid. We are starting off with some pretty alright prelims and a great main card. I'm picking Priscilla Cachoeira, likely by knockout or decision. Decision, I'll pick. I'm picking Gafarov by, late round two, early round three TKO. Kong Wang decision. I'm picking Saeed Nurmagomedov by decision. This is an interesting fight. Um, Javid Basharat is the worst of the two Basharat brothers. And Saeed, I feel like a lot of people are fading him because he's had a lot of bad losses recently. But I think he's going to turn it around. I don't rate Javid highly. And Saeed he's just a fighter that adjusts and figures it out throughout his career. Um, I think he's just going to edge out a 29-28 decision here. That's one of the more interesting fights in the prelims. I don't care about this fight. I'll pick uh, Bruno Brazil decision, I guess. Nikolai Veretennikov versus Nico Price. This just got added to the card. I'm picking Veretennikov by KO. Nico Price is chinny. Um, 1-3 record Veretennikov. Yeah, I'm still picking Veretennikov by KO. You can't pick Nico Price in 2026. This is an interesting one only because Donchenko is pretty damn hyped up. I'm going to be picking Donchenko by KO. I wouldn't be surprised if Morono could pull off one of those slick guillotines that he's got. He's got one of the most underrated guillotines in the 170 division, but then again, it's like he just never gets it and he loses. Like he pulls it three times in a fight and he'll almost get it and then he'll just lose that fight. Um, I'm picking Donchenko KO. Morono's old and chinny at this point, and I'm pretty sure how old is he? Oh, he's not. I thought he'd be a little bit older, but I mean there is an 11-year age difference here, and Donchenko is clearly the big favorite. Donchenko KO. Now into the main card. This first fight is pretty damn good. This is Jacoby on short notice. I don't remember who Julius Walker was fighting initially. Maybe it will say here. Yep. Aran Satibaldiev, the fucking this retard. That guy is so fucking ass. And I think Julius Walker is ass. I'm picking Dustin Jacoby. Julius Walker in all of his UFC fights has a tendency to gas out badly. Um, Very sloppy striking after the first round in the couple fights that he's had. And I will say he has great power, but he has little technique. Dustin Jacoby has fought all around the world in kickboxing and MMA. He's fought Alex Pereira in kickboxing years and years ago. I believe in 2015. Could be wrong about that. He just has more experience. He's a slick stand-up striker with all right power, but if he finds the right combo, he's gonna crack your chin. And yeah, I'm picking Dustin Jacoby round three TKO or decision, but a late finish or decision. Probably a dominant win past the first round for Jacoby. I can see him losing the first round, and then just cardio mogging Julius Walker, who hasn't shown a lick of cardio in his past couple UFC fights. Moving on, we have probably the second or third best fight on the card here. Farid Basharat, the better of the two Basharat brothers. Um, he's a boring decision machine, but he's good. It's just because you're boring doesn't mean you're bad. All right, this is why people like Evloev are at the top of divisions. Basharat ekes out wins by jabbing you and kicking you from the outside. And now he has his fair share of moments early on in his career if you've watched any of his pre UFC stuff. But he hasn't shown a lot of majorly impressive skills other than just being Adesanya at an unranked level in bantamweight. Gene Matsumoto, on the other hand, is actually a pretty decent prospect. He's coming off of a close loss to Rob Font, I believe. And oh, no, sorry, I forgot. He had a split decision win against Miles Johns. That was not the best decision. if I remember it correctly. But regardless, he has shown a high level against way better competition than Basharat's fought. And I understand that's because Basharat was never given the opportunity to fight at that level. But, nearly eking out a decision win against Rob Font is impressive, especially at a level now that Rob Font he's just constantly beating like up and coming guys. He's like the Dan Ige of 135. It's, I'm going to pick Matsumoto. I'm going to pick Matsumoto by decision. He has a major jujitsu edge as well. I could see him submitting Basharat, but I'm not expecting it. I'm going to say Matsumoto by decision, 29-28, maybe a split decision. He has close fights. That's the one thing about Matsumoto. He has a lot of close fights. So, Matsumoto by decision. Moving on, we have Mikhail Olenjacek, who is undefeated with only knockouts. I believe it's two knockouts in a row ever since joining the Fighting Nerds. Now that's interesting. I don't know if he's still with them, but if he is, clearly it's working out. Power Bar, on the other hand, is your classic fucking slugger. He's just gonna fucking bang one out with you till he goes out cold. And that is, I believe, a majority of his losses are by knockout loss, or at least in the UFC, it seems. Um, three knockout losses in the UFC, so not a majority, but still, he's getting knocked out a lot. I'm going to be picking Mikhail by round one knockout. It's that simple. Now, if you take a look at the odds, Mikhail is a pretty big favorite here, especially for the type of fight this should be. Now, this isn't betting advice, but power bar at underdog odds in a fight where they will probably just be swinging for about 20 seconds in one particular point in the fight until somebody goes out. Those are good odds. Power bar hits like a fucking truck, and every, three fights or so, his chin just turns insane. And that's what happened to him against Shara Bullet, I believe, about a year ago. And I can see him taking some punches to give some and maybe catching Olenjacek. But Olenjacek's on a run. Um, he's still relatively young, considering that, yeah, he's about 31 years old. You'd think that he's 36, 37, considering how long he's been in the UFC at this point, or at least it feels like it's been a long time. He's still very good and he has a lot to give. I'm picking Olenjacek by round one knockout, flatline KO. Moving on, we have Jailton Almeida on short notice against Rizvan Kuniev, who was originally slated to fight Ryan Spann. This is a crazy jump up. I don't know what the fuck the UFC is doing with these short notice opponents in fights lately. Brandon Moreno versus Loner Kavanaugh just got announced for the Mexico card in a few weeks on short notice because Asuel Mabayev is injured. And it's this. There's a lot of short notice fights that don't make sense going on in the UFC right now. But regardless, this is an interesting fight. Jailton Almeida obviously has that one in every, 4 or 5 fight performance where he is terribly boring. I mean, I want to fucking kill myself when I watch Jailton Almeida fight sometimes. It is that bad. But I think it's overplayed. I think it is overstated how boring he can be when it's all in all. He's finishing fights more often than not in a very, very quick manner. Almost Hamzat esque because of the low skill level at heavyweight. If he's matched up against a guy who's, unranked like Rizvan Kuniev, he typically takes them down and subs them. And he's done that plenty of times. And he hasn't been doing that recently, but he's done it plenty of times. The problem now is Rizvan Kuniev just beat Curtis Blades. And it was a split decision loss, but it was a terrible robbery. And to me, Rizvan Kuniev is, although not deservedly, he is the number three or number four best heavyweight in the world, at least based on how the rankings work in the UFC. Um, Curtis Blades couldn't take Kuniev down for more than a few seconds, if at all, because I would never rewatch that fight to analyze a fucking Jailton Almeida fight. But this is close, and it's matchup wise, one of the more interesting ones in the card. But I'm gonna go with Jailton Almeida. I'm gonna go with Jailton Almeida. I don't think he's gonna run through him, but I'm gonna pick him by maybe late round one, early round two submission. I could see him having a lot of trouble in the beginning. He throws at that big fucking front kick in the beginning and shoots a double, blast double, and it doesn't work sometimes. But I think it'll work on Rizvan. And if it doesn't, I think he'll get him down eventually. Rizvan is a fat, obese, massive blob. He got caught for steroids in the PFL. He has zero good wins other than a robbery loss to Curtis Blades. And even then, Curtis Blades looked like shit in that fight, and he had a shit ton of injuries in that fight. This is a Jailton Almeida win. That's my pick. Enough talking about that. I spent way too long on that. On to my favorite fight on the fucking card. Amir Albazi versus my fucking GOAT, Kyoji Horiguchi. I fucking love Kyoji Horiguchi. And if you watch the channel in the future, going on, you'll realize over time I am a massive Ryzen glazer. And I'm not one of these fake hardcores that's like, oh, yo, bro, you gotta watch the Ryzen, bro. I just have way too much fun watching the cards when I do. And I love all the Ryzen guys. I love all the Japanese fighters that come over from Ryzen in the UFC because they're fun and they bang it out and they try and finish. And that's the brand of Asian martial arts. They're exciting. And that's how you get popular over there. That's how you get pushed. That's why when you watch all of these guys in Japan or in One or whatever, they have these shit records, but they know how to bang. That's why I like them. Kyoji Horiguchi is going to style and embarrass Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi is just not that great. He has a robbery win from years and years ago over Kai Kara France. That was one of the worst robberies I've ever seen, and probably the worst robbery in the history of the flyweight division. And ever since, he's just been floating around the top five for no known reason. He's out for over a year to get heart surgery. He comes back and gets fucking schooled by Brandon Moreno. Amir Albazi is fundamentally an alright fighter, but he has way too much mileage on him at this point, not just from his career, but just from his problems in life. And he's ugly, and he's fucking stupid, and he's annoying, and he's boring. And if he wins this fight, I'll be pissed. But I'm picking Kyoji Horiguchi to style on him and win a dominant decision 30-27. This should be the main event. It would be way more interesting if it were 5 rounds. But there is a problem. Kyoji, if anybody has watched any of his fights, has a chin problem. He's a little old, he's got a shit ton of mileage, and he's the type of fighter, he'll eat a right hand from Ngannou, and then he'll get dropped by a guy like Albazi with a jab. So I am a little bit nervous about that, but then again, it's flyweight and it's Amir Albazi, so I'm not too nervous. But Kyoji gets fluked every once in a while. I don't think it'll happen here, though. I think Kyoji's going on a generational run in the flyweight division to the title. And I hope that if he wins this dominantly, he gets a good shot at perhaps Moreno if Moreno gets through Loner Kavanaugh in a few weeks. And moving on to the main event. Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira. This is just not a main event caliber fight. This is the reason this is in the Apex, clearly. And I'm not upset at it. This is a great card, for Apex standards at least. I'm picking Mario Bautista by decision. I think 5 rounds definitely benefits him. We've seen Vinicius Oliveira gas out multiple times in his career, especially lately in the UFC, where he styles on people in the early rounds and slows down in the late second, early third, and then kind of just sits there flinging bombs at people. And Oliveira is one of the flukiest fighters in the UFC. And I don't say that because I think that his 3 wins, where is it through? Sorry, 4 wins in the UFC. I don't say that because I think those 4 wins are fluky. I think he would have gotten them anyway. He's a great fighter, but he has a fluky style. Like he walks around with his hands down like Yuri, and he'll fucking literally only throw big meaty overhands. And that to me is a bit of a red flag when it comes to picking a fighter in a main event. Mario Bautista has been through the ringer in the UFC, and regardless if people like him or not, he just came off of a fight with Umar where he was one of the biggest underdogs on the card and dropped him bad and nearly won by knockout. He beat Jose Aldo. He jabbed Patchy Mix's face off. These are quality wins and moments for Bautista, who has nearly been to the top 4 or 3 of this division if Umar had actually gone out cold from that knee. Bautista's underrated, but not to the point where he's unflukeable. I think Oliveira could definitely fluke him here, but I'm picking Bautista to jab Oliveira up. Maybe in the first round or two he gets caught and he stumbles backwards. But Bautista's got a great chin on him, especially throughout his career. Of course, he's gotten knocked out in the UFC before, but besides that, he's really only won and been dominant. As opposed to some close fights, he's been dominant. I think he's going to jab Oliveira up in the first 2 rounds. I think he's going to survive an onslaught of fluky overhand lefts and rights and just big movements from Oliveira until he gets gassed and really take over in the 3rd and 4th rounds and decision him dominantly 50-45, 49-46. I don't really see Oliveira doing much. Bautista is one of the more unfinishable guys in the bantamweight rankings with a great chin and great defense. Oliveira is going to get frustrated and gas. Bautista could even finish him late, but I don't see it. In a 3-round fight, it would be 30-27 Bautista to me, maybe 29-28. But this is really just a litmus test on Bautista. See if he can hang for 5 rounds, if he's got the cardio. It's his first 5-round fight, I believe. This is going to be interesting. If Oliveira does pull this off, then I guess I'm just a fucking idiot for starting out my YouTube channel and going 0-3 in the main events when I've last year fucking killed it in main events, but it's whatever. Bautista, dominant decision. This is a great card. Some great fight potential. Lots of great finish potential. Particularly in these first few fights here on the main card. If some upsets happen. It's going to be an interesting one, and the rankings are going to shake up a little bit after this one, which is why I think it's a great card. Whenever you see, 5, 6 ranked fighters on a card, it's always good, especially for an Apex card. That's nice to see. So hopefully future cards are of similar quality, and I will see you guys in the next video.